Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to your place of chill, the coffee company. It's another sunny day. We've got a host pipe ban here in the UK now, officially. So we're all going to be a bit warm in these next couple of weeks, but it's okay because we're going to heat it up even more with Mr. Brian Daigle and Mr. Couva99, or Couvachit, as he's going today. Mr. Brian, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good until I realised I wasn't in your theme tune or your opening credits. I'm disgusted with Bobby. I'll be having a word with Superman and going, how dare you? No, I'm only joking now. It's always good to be with you and Couva. It will be another hot day here. It's warm at the moment, but it's a wonderful day, as always, in Toronto, Canada, and good to be with you too.
Brilliant stuff. Mr. Couva, how are you today, sir?
Another day, another stream. Always a pleasure on yours, Ben, as you know.
Another day, another stream. Thank you to everyone so far in the stream choosing us over other channels that might not or may be live at the moment. It seems at the moment, as soon as I start streaming, other channels decide, we're gonna go live as soon as Ben does. So we're gonna welcome Mr. Bobby K. It's Bobby K. It's Bobby K. Big up, Bobby. Hopefully you're doing well. Mr. Carl Simpson. Big up, Carl. Big up, Carl.
Big up, Carl. Big up, Bobby.
And Mr. Shamu Van Spurs is in the chat saying New Zealand women's triples wins bronze in the lawn bowls games. Bring back bowls, sir. Big up, Shamu. Big up. I don't even know what to talk about today. It's one of those streams. I'm still slightly mind blown because I discovered the weird part of YouTube that some lady in America believes that the Roman Empire didn't exist. So I was like, I'm trying to cool down after that. Rather the funniest thing I've ever seen ever.
It just goes absolutely mental at times, doesn't it? It's first there's flat earthers, which keeps coming back every sort of 60 years or so, or something like that. Yeah. Or is it 100 years? I can't remember. But it's not the first time this has happened with them. Now the Roman Empire doesn't exist. What's the other really stupid ones? Birds don't exist. That was one at one point.
Yeah, birds have actually got batteries in them. And the reason we had lockdown is so that the royal family could change all the batteries.
Oh, mate. Do you know, Joe, when you talk stupid things like this, a conspiracy theory, it's not a conspiracy theory. It just reminds me of a stupid... I mean, the British Red Tops always, they have the stupid stories. I can't remember which paper it was, but it was coming into the millennium. So we're talking Christmas, coming into the year 1999. Someone walked into a bookies and put £10,000 on that when the clock strikes 12 on 2000, the world's going to implode. And I'm like, so wait a minute. If you lose,
if you crash that one in, yeah.
If you lose, you're 10 grand down, and if you win,
you can't get the money.
How are you? How are you going to? It's the most. And I was looking at it, I was like, this can't be serious. It has to be the most stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Unless, here's a theory. Perhaps he took a lot of side bets that he wouldn't do that bet.
You know what? Maybe, but you just got to look at that. Give me 2 seconds. I've just got a phone call up. I'll be back in 2 secs.
Back in a sec. People are silly. That's a funny way to start the stream. Roman Empire wasn't real.
Yes, I mean, what have the Romans ever done for us? Apparently, nothing at all.
Apart from the aqueduct, the roads.
No, nothing.
Nothing. What have they done for us? Time to start the People's Front of Judea again.
Who did invent the aqueduct?
The Romans, apparently.
Not who?
Who? It would have been.
Got to find some sort of proof of who invented all these things instead. Then, if they didn't.
Yeah. Who really? That's a name for tomorrow's stream. Who invented the aqueduct?
Rome wasn't built in one day. Perhaps it wasn't built at all then.
No, it wasn't. Apparently, Brian Clough built it.
Oh, I love all this stuff. You've got to just assume this is just a wind-up thing, haven't you?
No.
It can't. No, I'll refuse to believe this. It's just nobody can be that stupid, surely.
It's comedy. They need to make a TV series.
Yeah. You'd like to think people are capable, even at the most rudimentary level, of a bit of critical thought, and think, I'll go and look up what was there instead then.
Is Hadrian's Wall not a clue?
Yeah. All the things attributed to the Romans, and you've got to find an alternative for that now. A huge chunk in history, and then, there's suddenly nothing there.
Brilliant. Totally brilliant.
I'd love to know what the reasoning is on that, apart from, somebody said it online, so it's true.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Is that one of the? We need to do a whole different stream. Is that one of the arguments this person came up with was a country that small can't dominate the entire world? Have they not heard of the British Empire?
Who?
Yeah, who? That's a conspiracy theory. The British Empire wasn't real. It was actually just the Dorset. It was the people of Dorset Empire.
Yeah, no, it's not even that, is it? It's all just commercial branding.
Yeah.
It's an advertising war.
Well, people are that. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But on a lighter note, we actually
let's believe that eventually, perhaps they might not. They will be, won't they? People are just getting more and more stupid, more and more lazy as well.
It's the funniest.
It's the apathy. It's the apathy involved, isn't it?
Yeah.
As soon as everybody's got everything on their mobile phone now, they don't bother checking out facts. Although it's been made even easier for them to do so by having
the more information we have, the worse we are.
Yeah. Yeah, everything at their fingertips on the phone, and they'll listen to, Reddit or something as the source of information.
Big up, Sushan. Big up. Unbelievable. That's a great way to start the stream. Do you guys think Rome was real? Is it not? Or is it just a figment of our imagination? Is the Colosseum actually a football stadium?
I have got a topic of conversation, because talking to my eldest son yesterday, we're talking about tea and coffee, and I was saying, if we were all born and raised in India, we'd probably be massive tea drinkers from a very young age.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about coffee, and we're talking about Ben's coffee shop. And I said, well, eventually your tastes are changing. You're 14 now. You probably find you might like coffee quite soon. And he goes, no, I hate it. I said, well, I probably did at 14. Well, yeah, that's true as well. So we're talking about tastes changing, and I suddenly thought, when did I get into becoming a tea fanatic? And I think I must have been about 10 or so.
Yeah, that's because that's what you being slightly older than not slightly older. My mother grew up in the 60s, and that's all they drank because the water wasn't good. So they had kettles and they made tea because it was better for you.
Exactly. Oh, there's the trivia one. I can't remember if I did this one the other day. Who's per capita? Who's the biggest tea drinkers in the world? Which country?
It'd be China or an Asian country.
No.
Who's that?
Have a guess. See if anybody in the chat gets it then.
Which countries? So everyone, right? Who do you think the biggest tea drinkers are? It's not America. It's not Britain anymore.
No.
It's going to be like a really obscure country.
Pretty sizable country, but
it must be Russia.
No.
Who's that?
Oh, let's go. Only guessing so far as England. It's Turkey.
Interesting.
Apparently, and I know when I went over in holiday. When I went over in holiday, it was all about apple tea all the time. They just go big on it. I can understand that. I thought we would have been a good guess as well, because it's a standard thing, isn't it? Colonial days and bringing it back from India in the first place. Got us hooked on it. If you take out all the atrocities that went with it, our association with India has been quite good. Yeah. We've had curries and snooker, and they got cricket from us, and we both seem quite happy with that.
Yeah.
just that little bit of nonsense in the middle that ruined it a bit.
We're going to head away from that subject, but I do like the subject of tea, because tea is something I'm starting to broaden out with, because I hate the tea we get in this country. It's awful. The majority of our tea is awful. PG Tips, even Yorkshire Gold is apparently all right, but it's still it's awful. It's tea that's designed for crap water. When there's got so many great teas like the Darjeelings, the Rooibos. It's Rooibos. You probably would say isn't tea because it's red bush. It's not exactly a leaf. It's a bush. But it's they say red bush tea. I know Brian's a big fan of a cuppa as well.
Oh,
so
mate.
This is a pretty decent conversation.
Mate, you know what? I only started drinking. It's weird. I used to just drink coffee. I didn't drink tea till I was about 24, 25. And now, mate, I love it. And one of the things I love doing, you know, like how I've got my aftershave collection, but you know how people have like a wine collection or spirits? Yeah. I used to have like all the different like blueberry and apple and licorice and mint. And mate, I love all the mate. It's the sign. I think Cooper and I were having a message earlier about we're getting older and stuff. And I think when you say I have a herbal tea collection, that's a warning sign that you've reached the top of the hill and you're starting to go down. But yeah, I love a cup of tea.
Yeah, I've got one of those corner cabinets in the kitchen where you open it and you spin the trays round to reveal the big contents in there. And I've got the top shelf is entirely teas. Yeah. All sorts of different ones. I love my Darjeeling and things like that. But I'm quite okay with things that we do in this country that are sort of more mainstream. Like I think of the Twinings Everyday tea's really good. Yeah. Yorkshire Gold is good, and I quite like Clipper as well. It's a good strong cuppa.
I will tell you now, the tea we have here, there's a company here called Orange Pico, and it's as weak as they come. And I have a builder's tea. And when my mum first came to Canada, she always carries tea bags with her wherever she goes abroad because it's not English tea. And she picked up, and you can get it at Asda, Sainsbury's, all of the supermarkets, but it's their own brand, and it's called Extra Strong. Yeah. These tea bags, mate, I've got about 1,000 of them. Yeah. And when Rez comes over, I'll have another few hundred to come to. I can't live without him, mate. I can't live without him.
There was only one time where I got turned on to coffee, and that was going out fishing in the north of Norway. And they would have a little urn, if it were not an urn, but a coffee pot constantly on the boil. Yeah. And it would never get washed. It was always black as hell on the inside, thick coffee grinds all the way around it. And it was so immensely strong that it was almost like a rite of passage into manhood being able to drink that stuff. And it was just knockout juice. But if you're going through the night fishing, you want that every now and then, just a little a hot cup of coffee. Yeah. I suddenly understood the purpose of it then. Yeah. But you have to be seeing proper stuff like that. In Norway, they always considered tea to be sort of a lady's drink, and coffee's coffee's the working thing. But it's funny. It's the attitudes changing around the world to a lot of beverages.
Like that. How bitter and strong it was, because Scandinavia, as in Norway, Sweden, and Finland, Scandinavian coffee is massive. Light roasted, very acidic coffee is now so popular around the world because it's so good. It's now the modern thing. It's the Australians, when they started to have the third wave of coffee that started in the UK. The Australians really kicked it down the road.
So Ben, what about the Scandinavian for the new blend you're doing?
It's the type of roast. That's, okay. I don't like light roasted coffee. I've sort of, which we're not talking about because it's still a secret, but still people can still guess the blend because it's going to be a very special thing. But I don't like ultra light roasted coffee because I've got a very advanced flavor palette. anything that's too much in one direction is undrinkable for me. If it's too acidic, it's undrinkable. If it's too bitter, it's undrinkable. I always like to be a bit balanced, and I always like to make it so it's inherently sweet, so people don't have to put sugar in it. So we're right in the middle between Scandinavian and Australian, but we're right in the middle of that. That's the way I like to roast. I don't like to roast too hot, but I don't like to roast too short. But it's that sort of that 9-minute mark. So it's going to have that inherent sweet flavour and that flavour of the acidity, but it's not going to be too much. So that's the way I've always done things. But I do.
I couldn't stand having sugar in tea or coffee as well. Yeah. So that intrigues me because, like you said, having a bad coffee, that was my experience of it always, was it's really bitter and I just don't like this.
Yeah.
Whereas I could switch to having tea and smooth, nice aftertaste and just much more enjoyable. But I'm sure when I do get round to coming over to your shop there, Ben, I'll show you show me what it's really all about.
Yeah.
Espresso. You have to have. Honestly, I tell every single person when you go to Ben's shop, you have to start with an espresso. Either way, you have to have one of the espressos. The best, the very, very best.
Unless you come here in the morning, then it's always a cappuccino. Has to be.
I'm not a big cappuccino fan.
Oh yeah, I'll certainly manage cappuccino, I must admit. The only thing I worry about is the strength of coffee, because when I did find a coffee I eventually liked, I'd have about 6 or 7 cups in a row, and then I'll find heart rates gone way up. And I could drink unlimited amounts of tea and never get that. It just stunning difference for me. But oh, sorry, I just noticed Roy Park saying, do I put milk in my tea? Yes, definitely. It's
interesting.
Okay, so Kuva, what's your tea? Because there's people that drive me mad if they say this. When you're making your tea, do you have it with or without sugar?
Right, correct tea making process as far as I'm concerned.
Let's do it.
Kettle on, touch of boiling water into the cup, swish it round, let it out so you've warmed the cup.
Yeah. Tea
bag in if you're using a tea bag. Preferably use a pot with loose leaf tea and then use a strainer at the end. But if you're using a tea bag, which most people do, in goes the bag, in goes the hot water.
Oh, thank God.
Leave it for about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 to 4 minutes. So you're around about enough time. I tend to like it a little bit longer, so I usually leave it for about 5 or 6. Get a really strong cup. Tea bag out, then the milk in.
Yeah.
Just a little splash to start with. Or because I like the tea exceptionally strong a lot of the time, I put in a little bit more milk than normal. Just so I've got a very strong, very milky sort of tea. It's just personal taste. But standard cup of tea, I wouldn't make it that strong or milky. Or just
the reason I ask that is when you hear people say they put the milk in before the water, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
What is wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah, that is just like the cardinal sin.
Yeah, it's the cardinal sin.
It's like getting dressed before showering.
If you're using a teapot, the recipe has to be enough for each person and then an extra for the pot, as in good luck. If you don't do that, it's wrong. If you're using one of the biggest myths that people say, if you use a teapot, it has to be milk before. No, if you're using bone china, that's when you put milk before tea, because the reason you put the milk in is so you don't put hot water in, which shocks the cup. The reason you put milk before in a bone cup is because it's really thin. So you put the milk in a bone china cup. But if it's a normal cup, you then just put tea again. And most importantly, one of the things I learned from a tea sommelier is when you're brewing your tea, you always have the saucer. Don't use the saucer when you're brewing. Put the saucer on top of the cup so you don't lose any of the temperature. So the temperature keeps the same way and the steam...
I suppose that's the only way I'll change it up, as if I am making it a pot of tea. Yeah. The milk can go in the cup first because you've already brewed the tea. So,
but then you would say what material was the cup made of? If it's bone china, it has to be milk first. Otherwise, you'll break your cup.
There you go.
Of course, then you can't adjust the amount of milk if you've done too much with you put it in first. But that's where expertise comes into it.
Yeah. Milk before water, that is just wrong. Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Introduced me to milk and tea. First, it was let the water settle and cool as a must. 2 tea bags for me too.
I've done that sometimes. I can.
With a really light tea, I would do that.
I can sometimes do that.
Yeah.
It's got to be, like I said, with the orange pico thing that we have here, I have to have 2 bags. But now I've got the thousands of English, I don't need them.
I've forgotten who it was that was talking about the likes of Starbucks and things and why the tea's always so bad there. I think it might be one of the comedians or something that talking about it. But they were saying the reason it's so bad is because the water temperature, it's lowered to 97 degrees because of the coffee. So it wrecks the coffee. It goes, if it's at 100 degrees, it wrecks the coffee. But if it's not at 100 degrees, the tea doesn't brew properly.
Yeah. This baby is always at 92 degrees centigrade. It will overboil because that is what the hot water boiler does. But firstly, when you have a copper boiler, which most coffee machines do, you're going to get an inherent copper flavour in the water boiler. Because mine has a stainless steel boiler because it's retrofitted with a stainless steel one. But you're always going to get a copper taste in the mouth, which firstly doesn't work with the tea. Secondly, it's not hot enough, which is why you use a kettle. It has to be at 100 degrees. And also, it's made to make coffee. It's not made to make tea. It's a completely different brewing method. You wouldn't use a tea kettle to make a coffee. You use a coffee pot kettle. They're 2 completely different vehicles of water.
Yeah.
Because they're 2 different things. Tea is very coarse and coffee is very fine. 2 different grinding methods.
Talking about different coffees, Bobby K, who I know is in the chat, whenever I'm around there, makes a banging Indian coffee. Where he whips the milk. Oh, mate, it's banging. It really is. In fact, I'm thinking I've got to get to Bobby's now just for a coffee.
2 tea bags, 2 spoons sugar. That's too much sugar though. He's got sweet teeth. 1 spoon tea masala, get to boil, simmer 10 minutes, add flavour, add mild, simmer 3 more minutes. That's a recipe for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, as soon as you put tea masala in that's a different kettle of fish altogether, or should I say kettle of tea? The different process. I think sort of if we just standardise it and saying it using a tea bag because most people are in a hurry certainly around in England anyway. You'd have to rely on the old standard old kettle. But if you got time, you always do take the time for it. It's worth it with anything. As Ben always says, quality. That's what it's all about, not quantity. Getting a proper drink, do it properly.
Well, Bobby K's basically doing Pimp My Tea, isn't he?
Yeah, to Pimp My Tea. Most importantly, why a coffee machine is awful with tea is the tea bags we use are made for hard water. And if you put hard water in a coffee machine, it will die within 2 weeks. You have to use soft water. Yeah. Which is why we use big water softeners. So my favourite, BWT, best water filters on the planet. You have to use soft water. You've got to program your water softener for your different machine. It takes a while. It takes like 2 weeks to really dial the water in. Yeah, but you have to use soft water.
It's one of those silly competitions always have with the in-laws because they're from Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So they live in the soft water area, and down in Dorset, I'm in a very hard water area. Yeah. And they're always going about soft southerners. I said even our water's harder than yours. But it's true because I got in one of those cheap little coffee percolator type thing. No, not a percolator, but the ones that use the pods anyway. Yeah. Ben will cringe at the thought of that already. Oh. But I had that in just for when people come to the house if they want a coffee. There's something there. But I noticed after just 2 months it stopped working.
Yeah,
it was just
hard water.
Yeah, so fast to build up the lime scale.
Yeah, that's why you have to clean these every day if you're in London. You have to clean them every day, otherwise you will get lime scale build up.
Yeah.
I don't clean this every day because I don't have the amount of customers, but I clean it after every single coffee just to make sure I'm always flushing that thing. First thing I do in the morning, flush the machine out. You've got to do it constantly, otherwise you will have limescale in your coffee, and that's not pleasant because it becomes.
What is going on? We're having a tea and coffee conversation on Ben's Coffee Company.
What the hell happened? We're not talking.
Cool.
We went from having a nonsensible discussion to
We've been underailed.
We've been underailed. By you, amazingly. Cuba underrails a show. What the hell's happened? Are we sure?
I feel like we need to go over the biscuits scenario again then as well.
Yeah. What, the Kit Kat's not a biscuit?
Well, see, because you can have a correct biscuit for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I'd argue that the cup of tea biscuit can be a completely different variety.
Oh yeah, it's a completely different thing. I think the UK does coffee biscuits wrong. The people that do coffee biscuits correct are the Dutch and the Danish, which is what actually I think Biscoff's from Denmark. Let me look. It might be Dutch as well. Biscoff is from
Belgium, probably.
Belgium.
Is it? I don't know. I'm guessing.
Let's have a look. Where is Lotus Biscoff from? Lembeck. It's from Belgium. You got it correct.
Hey, just thought the possibility of chocolate on it. So
yeah.
Suddenly thought Belgium. It's always a good guess when you come to chocolate. Chocolate from Switzerland and Belgium nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Dutch do coffee biscuits really well. They have stroopwafels, which are delicious, especially because they're literally designed, they're standardized size, because the standard cup in the Netherlands is a certain size. So stroopwafels are designed to put your biscuit on the top of your hot coffee so it melts in the middle, and then you have your melted biscuit in your coffee. So they've got coffee biscuits right, whereas we have got biscuits that are designed for tea, which is like shortbreads and
rich tea.
No, mate, not one dips. Not one dips. Not one dips. I was just about to say, Peter K, Hobnobs, the Marines.
Yeah.
The Marines of biscuits. Oh, mate, that Peter K skip is just absolutely priceless. I do love Peter K, and that bit is hysterical.
Yeah, that's really funny. Having a Danish.
It's weird. It's weird. Peter K's stand-up, I can't tolerate him. I just don't like it. But the things he writes, I mean, Phoenix Nights is one of the funniest things I've watched. Yeah. I'll just say he's brilliant at that. But you get sometimes you get comedians like that. Ben Elton, I don't like his stand-up. Blackadder, on the other hand, brilliant.
Thin Blue Line is fantastic. That is deeply underrated. The Thin Blue Line. It's so modern, but 1992, whenever it was made, yeah. It's so brilliant.
I tried to get into that one after people bigging it up. Must have been you two.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. I just don't know what it is. It's just a little bit too forced in places for me.
It is. That's why I quite like it. Speaking of, have any of you watched Rowan Atkinson's new program, Man vs. Bee?
No.
It's for Rowan Atkinson standards, it's poor. It's
Man
very
versus
poor.
Bee.
Man versus Bee. It's about
B-double-E.
Yeah, B-double-E. It's a man that's having a fight with a bee. It's funny. It's funny, but it's so forced. It's so cringe.
Yeah.
Just for a second, I thought it was going to be something really worthwhile, like highlighting the plight of the bees at the moment and how important they are to life on the planet.
No, it's a man being chased by a bee, and he gets into these really weird scenarios. Like he gets locked out his own house because he's chasing a bee.
I have to say, when you said Man versus Bee, I thought that was the bee short for Bean.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like a comedy with him being himself and Mr. Bean. But when you said it is a man having a fight with a bee, Lee Evans is fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
Peter Kent. But I have to go old school. I've seen Michael McIntyre. I've seen them all. But my favourite one, the one that really made my ribs was Jasper Carrot. Yeah. You cannot beat Jasper goddamn Carrot. He is a genius.
I'm because I've grown up with this comedy. I prefer the Jewish comedians. They are the Jackie Masons of the world. They're my favourite because that my favourite one is not Jackie. I can never remember his name, but there's a skit on YouTube called Herschel the Magnificent Jew, and that's all I'm going to say. It's the funniest thing on the planet. It's so funny and so old,
you got
like, tongue in cheek, like absolute nonsense, but it's just absolutely brilliant.
You got Joan Rivers and Ruby Wax as well, who in there.
Yeah, Joan Rivers.
For me, Joan Rivers is absolutely genius level. I've never laughed so much at a female comedian. Yeah. She's just absolutely brilliant.
So she was brilliant. She was brilliant on when she went on Graham Norton, but you can never ever on Graham Norton. There's only one woman and one woman only. I can never say her surname. What's the Ben? You'll know the Jewish woman that's in Harry Potter, Magdalene or
Margolis.
Yeah. Oh my God, that woman. That woman is one of the funniest people on the goddamn planet.
I just think she's wacky.
Oh, she's absolutely.
Joan Rivers is an entire league to her.
She's absolutely Mashugada.
Yeah, she is a total Meshuggah. My favourite thing is when Joan Rivers was on a programme with James May and Jeremy Clarkson. It was just the two most offensive people on the planet, and everyone was like, "Jeremy, all these controversies. I'm down here, and Joan is up there." She goes out, she's like going for blood. Like she got like. But Joan Rivers, my God, she's offensive, but she's just so funny.
Well, the fact that she's one of the first comics that really starts coming out with little sketches about 9/11 so soon after it happened, and it was genuinely funny, and people accepted it as well. It was just like, it's because it's Joan Rivers. She's earned that sort of respect of, oh, that's just Joan doing what she does.
But Joan is very respectful. She would do that, but then give a load of money to a fund. Very charitable woman and deeply missed as well. Like we need more people like that. They're just going to tell it the way it is and just be like good people. This
is why I always think the likes of Frankie Boyle get a hard rap. Of course, he does things that are deliberately offensive, but for me, that's dark humor. I love it. I love not just pushing the boundaries, but jumping clean outside the boundaries and seeing what it's like over in that sort of water. But again, Frankie Boyle, when he's not talking comedy, he's such a down-to-earth, reasonable bloke with good ideas on how to help people around in society, and it gets glossed over because he's just viewed as that outrageous comic that gets banned from TV.
Same with Jimmy Carr.
Yeah. Well, he's been in hot water recently, hasn't he?
He has been.
Again.
So I heard.
Billy Connolly he's fat. Like, the sketch of him when he the stand up of him having the laxatives. That's so funny. That is like on the floor, ribs hurting, and you ruin your back for the next. That's unbelievably funny.
Yeah.
Lee Evans when he's just sweating his head off.
Have you got a favourite? Have you got one favourite each of you?
Oh.
Well, so Jasper Carrot's big for me. I love, and I think it is Michael McIntyre is on his day.
He's brilliant.
He's an absolute, and he's a Spurs fan, but he is an absolute genius. My ex-boss at Booking.com, she is obsessed with him. Because what I used to do, there's a sketch that he did on Jonathan Ross, where they spoke about the difference between the English language and the American language, like when they said how we call glasses, and over there they called it eyeglasses, and he starts taking the he does that. And I actually used to show that video to my team, saying, this is when you're speaking to English, you've got to be careful because it's all different. But Michael McIntyre, when he finds a thing like that, he is golden. He is absolutely. I've seen him until I moved here. I'd been to every one of his tours. He's a genius.
Yeah, so many. Going along the my favourite comedian is Mel Brooks. He's just unbelievably funny.
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Oh, Blazing Saddles and so many.
Then you got people like Tommy Cooper. You had the late Sean Locke, who was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Sean Locke was absolutely brilliant.
Les Dawson was brilliant as well. That's going back quite a way. But for me, there's one that stands out above all of them. I see people in chat saying about Billy Connolly, and of course, yeah, he was great. For a lot of people, he's the greatest ever. I know he is. But for me, there's one that just eclipses everybody else, and that's Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
I just thought he was. I almost, literally almost pee myself laughing at some of the stuff he came out with. It's the first time I remember laughing so much my ribs were hurting, and I felt like I had to turn it off just to recover for a bit.
That was Jasper Carrot for me. That was Jasper.
And probably one I've forgotten actually is Amid Jalili. I don't know if you've ever watched him. He's so brilliant, so brilliant. Like his usual, when he comes out and introduces himself, and he says, "Looking at my name is Omid. Omid means hope, but it's a shame that Jalili means less."
but you know what? There's comedians that I love that go on show. I mean, top of the day too. Russell Howard, I think, when not on game shows, when he does his good news show, he's brilliant. But one of my favourite shows that I always make sure I watch even here is Would I Lie to You?
Yeah.
And when Bob Mortimer is on that show,
that's a good shout.
Yeah. Bob Mortimer on that show is absolutely hysterical.
Yeah.
He's absolutely brilliant on that show. There are a few that are on there.
I always like David Mitchell's response. When he talks about Bob Mortimer, he goes, and his team's deciding whether something's true or a lie. And he's going, no, you've got to understand, this is Bob Mortimer. He tells crazy things, and it's always true.
You know what I want to do? I'll send you the link. I love that show, and they do loads of like the best of, and they show. So you got all of the Bob Mortimers. You go Bob Mortimer, Would I Lie to You? They've got it in 3 parts, but they've got one that specifically when David Mitchell goes on one of his rants.
Yeah.
And when he goes, they're just hysterical. They're just.
I agree.
His wife, Victoria Mitchell, she's even worse when it comes to the rants. Like she goes on a rant and she's like a chainsaw. Like her 5 minute room 101 thing about why James Bond is the worst spy ever. But it's just like she broke it down. All right, you're right. It's just correct. You're absolutely correct. Why would James Bond escape from a chase with a British flag, which is the exact opposite of espionage?
Very true. It's very true.
The other last few days, we've been talking about subjects like, being true to yourself and being who you are on camera when you. And I just realised something when telling jokes and things. I do that David Mitchell type ranting when I'm not on the camera, but I never do it on YouTube for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't seem the same. But I'm always making my kids laugh. We're going over the top reaction to something they've done. Yeah. And just going to this wild diatribe of everything that's gone wrong with the world because of that sort of action. And they just love it. They just go, what the hell? I don't know. I don't know why I don't do it on camera. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Oh, you should. Obviously we talk about.
Me and Brian are very similar. As soon as something snaps, we cannot control ourselves. Many people have watched. Well, for example, Brian and I on many shows. Whenever we're with someone that's talking rubbish on a stream about anything, whether we respect them or not, like you can see me and Brian, like you can see on our faces, you can see it physically boiling, and we're gonna burn, and we start doing the shaking, like.
But I don't know what you're talking about. I have not come on YouTube ever and shouted and screamed and lost my. I'm so misunderstood. But no, do you know sometimes it's got to the point now when we were discussing that people use because I have my phone here because on my tablet I don't get the comments. I can if I go into the comments, but then it takes you off the camera. Yeah. So I have the comments coming through here, and it's easier to type on here if I'm responding. Yeah. And when I'm about to go, when people could see someone saying something that was about to piss me off, people are like. Daigle's ready to go. Daigle's good. It's like they knew it was coming.
We've done this conversation before on stream. I know. First thing you look for with Brian Daigle about to rant is you watch the mouth. Yeah. And there's the warm up bit there.
Same with me, though, isn't it? I
Getting
feel
getting the moisture on the lips, ready for a good. And then it slowly builds into the Daigle rock.
Yep, it's like it's like I'm in the synagogue and I'm praying. That's what it is. And then I've got sometimes, mate, you should see what I've had to do. I've had to put my hand in my mouth and physically like bite down on my fingers. I've come off with teeth marks. I've been pinching my skin. Once with Sean Butler, and this was when I was back in England for Bob, we got into such a huge argument. I was at my dining table. You know the placemats you put you I think were on it, Ben. I picked up this placemat and started cracking it over my head, and I think I gave myself a concussion because I had for the next 2 days. It's quite well known when I'm about to go. But it's good that it's good that I've got a profiler that's like, right, there you go. There's the stages.
Yeah.
It's always funny. You're the barometer to the show. It's like, see how this is going. Just check on the Brian gauge there. Oh, yeah.
If you see
he's on the lip wetting stage. We're in like DaigleCon 1.
The problem is, I see Daigle and it's exactly the same stuff I do, which you see it physically. You can see the fuse. Bringing up Luke's comment, you've almost banned me before. The amount of people I've banned as a moderator on these shows is unbelievable. I'm like the most it's rather funny.
I'm gonna have to mix it up. I'm gonna have to try and change this pattern, my modus operandi. And just throw people.
Mate.
I know. Do you know what? Even if I tried, I'd get so enraged that I'd forget everything that I was trying to do and just revert back to type.
Is it one that I remember? I went on a Christmas show last year on the Irish Hotspur, and someone brought up on stream that Lucas Moura would be a brilliant right wing back, and I watched it back. You could look at me, and I was seething. I was like seething. Instead of like no, I was like full blown shaking the table. No.
It's crazy the signs that we have, that we have. But I have been relatively calm for a little while, which is quite weird.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube channel, where just being calm, having not non-controversial, but guests that are willing to have a conversation about something rather than going to cause an argument. Because I hate the entirety of content is content. Bad content is good content. I hate bad content. I hate argument. If I see a stream and there's arguments on it, like for no reason, it's just an argument for the sake of I turn it off. It's not a discussion.
Yeah.
It's just a screaming.
Exactly. Huge difference between a debate and an outright argument, isn't there? They're so quick to turn nasty on so often now.
Instantly.
Would you say that my opinion on YouTube is in the last few months it feels like Twitter is getting more and more into the comments section on YouTube.
Yes. Because people
it really does feel like that.
People quit Twitter, so there's no one to argue with on Twitter. But the same people that were on Twitter that stopped using Twitter are on YouTube, so they deliberately go to YouTube to try and there's only way you can get rid of that, and that's good moderation. If someone's trying to be toxic, get rid of them.
Well, you know what I've realised as well, and I really noticed it. I thought I was noticing it to begin with, but I really noticed it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So after the Roma game, when I did my fan on the fan show on We Are Tottenham TV, I spoke and I said, listen, it was a terrible performance by Spurs. It was listen, but blah, blah. I spoke about the team and the lack of creativity, whatever. But one of the things I said was the referee was hopeless. And I said, with that Harry Kane penalty, if that had gone to VAR, the referee would have been sent off. But literally, the Sam in the back end, what they chose for my subtitle was the referee was awful, or whatever words to that effect.
Yeah.
And the amount of comments I got where I could blatantly tell you haven't even watched me. You've just seen you're acting like a gooner, Brian, blaming the ref. I was like, you ain't even watched my my little segment that you did, because I went on to say the lack of creativity. I spoke about, and it's like you said, it's people that are just now looking for a row.
Yeah.
And they'll see a thumbnail or they'll see a part in the chat, and it's like red rag to a bull. and wallop, in it comes, and they hear what they want to hear. They hear that little soundbite, that little clip, and it's like, right, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. But yeah, you're right.
You'd be primed for doing a little experiment, Brian. On Tottenham on Tour. Just put a thumbnail in with a title that's nothing to do with what you talk about on the show, something provocative, and see what comment you get in that, because it won't go with what's been told. Yeah, and you can just point it out.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and obviously I get tired. I mean, by a lot of people with the brush of you know what. Well, we're not really we're not going, but I get tired with that. So no matter what I say, I could say tomorrow is Wednesday, and they'll be like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Brian's lying. It's not Wednesday. It's. And I'm like, whoa.
It's actually Sunday, the 55th of July in 1872.
And the year ends in 1 there, so we're going to win the league. But this is the thing. They hear something, or they read something. It's like, right, let's have an argument. Let's have a. It has. I know exactly what you're saying, Cougar. It is what it is, really, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You find it with a lot of the YouTube. Well, it's getting into a heavy subject again, then. But let's just say there's a lot of YouTubers around the channels that not shown the respect of really listening to what they say. It's just the instant they start talking, people want to get on the hate wagon, and there's a lot. And it's nothing to do with even Levy in, Levy out. It can be whatever it is. When people take a dislike, that's it.
Well, it could be everything. Yeah. It could be Dyer. It could be when I was saying during that season that Son wasn't playing to what I thought his level should be. It could be anything or anyone, and it's gone from being like you look at the chat we had yesterday in the stream, and the general chat you have in your streams, Ben. Like I said, it's very relaxed. People talk. It's very civilized. I think there's been a couple of times where people have had whatever, but that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you look at it, but then some, and I'm not just talking Tottenham. I'm talking YouTube entirely. You'll go into some kind of stream, and the chat is absolutely vile.
Yeah.
And it's just people looking for arguments. I don't get it sometimes. I just don't.
I think there's a great comment from George CR17 at 247 there. If only people get heated and nasty when things boil over, but a little apology always goes a long way.
Never get heated. The whole point of a conversation or a debate is both sides of the debate respect each other's opinion, and at the end you can say, okay, we've disagreed, we can still have a drink. Either the bar or in a restaurant, we can have a meal. That is the point of debate. If you go into a debate with someone you physically dislike, that's not debate. That is just an argument.
Yeah.
And we've got to differentiate the difference between argument and debate. Debate is all about looking at an argument and seeing if that argument holds water. It's always the argument, not the person. If it's an argument, you're always going for the throat. You're never going for the argument. So that's the point. That's why I don't like all the millions of debates. A lot of channels have debate like 5 debates a week. That's too much.
And of course, because it's the safe environment of online, and so you don't have physical interaction with people, it's out the window. What you used to call it, just having a straighten up, wasn't it? It was you'd square up to somebody. You don't even have a punch up. Then you'd have a beer afterwards, and it's all sorted out. Yeah. So that's it. Kuva says, bring back drunken punch ups to sort out stuff.
There you go. That's exactly it. Daily Mail headline.
It's not just turning into cable news, though, Ian. It's turning into the Jerry Springer show. That's what it's turning into.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, what I will say, one thing, just a very quick talk about Tottenham on tour, Ben, if that's all right. So we're talking. If you look at the one things that we've loved, like the last 2 pre-recorded we've done is everywhere you go in Israel, with the Israel Spurs, and our straight out of Conte, and the quality of comments in there is like, not in the live chat, but I mean the actual YouTube comments are like, oh, it's a great show. Love you can tell by it's none of this bitching and whatever, and it's just lovely to see, because you do get, and I've had it with our channel where people go, oh, Dave, we don't know what, but that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's about the content. It's not. It's us three can have a difference of opinion on one thing. We could get into a debate, but it will never ever get personal. It will never ever get confrontational. And then afterwards, it's like, okay, we've had that discussion. Back, we move on. It is what it is. It is what it is. But you're going back to what Cooper said. You're bang on the money, right?
Yeah, it's just obvious, isn't it? I mean, that's where we get the whole keyboard warriors phrase from as well, isn't it? So, yeah, it's strange how people's attitudes change when they think nothing comes back at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, perhaps we're worse off for it. All the technology's great at bringing people together, but has it been great overall? I'm not so sure.
Brilliant at driving people apart as well, and it can be used as a tool to drive people apart.
Yeah.
As usual, the majority of people in the world are inherently good, but they just need something to flip that switch.
It's true.
Yeah. I think that's when the season starts, we get back to football chat. I think it might get worse, because it might get worse. It'll either get better or get worse.
It'll be fine if we're winning. The moment we don't win.
Well, no, you say that, Coover. Well, if we are winning, you'll get people going, oh, where are all the Levy outers now? So it's not just based on if you lose, blah 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 blah. But if we win, those people will pipe up like they have been on Twitter all summer. Oh, where are the Levy outers now? Look at all this money, and I'm like, I'm here. I'm right here. But that's the thing. Every whatever outcome, there's going to be an argument.
Yeah. Because there's now such a thing as toxic negativity and toxic positivity, both of which are equally awful. Because if you're so positive to the point where you can't look at anything and say, okay, that could be a tiny bit better, do this a little better, it's ridiculous. Toxic positivity is, in fact, probably worse than toxic negativity, because you can always improve negativity, but if you can never bring yourself down from that level.
It's true. You look at so many other businesses. If we treat the club as a business, which some people do tend to, okay, fine. We'll look at it that way. Businesses thrive on negative feedback, so they can improve what they're offering, make it a better quality of service or more acceptable to the customer. Yeah. We're now looking at this club as a fan base where a portion of it will not tolerate any negative feedback. Yeah. It has to be everything's fine no matter what, just back it no matter what. And it's like, what are you fanatically supporting, the team, or are you supporting the owners? Because I think it gets confused a lot of the time. What do we really want out of this club? I suppose you know, I've got to give a shout out to Sean Butler in some ways, because he's at least exploring this topic and like bringing it up. There are different viewpoints at what people see as success and everything. And it is interesting because we aren't all the same. Yeah. And that's what I came to the conclusion of a while back when having an argument with somebody that was clearly sort of, I wouldn't even go pro Levy, but they're okay Levy, if that's the sort of thing. Oh, now here we go. If you start to get into one of these arguments and you realize suddenly you're arguing from a different viewpoint because your goals are different, and then it becomes a pointless argument, and then it doesn't matter how loud you shout, it's never going to get through to the other person because you don't want the same thing. It's a difficult one, that, because we have got such a wide, what's it, Labour Party always use, a broad church, isn't it? It's people from all backgrounds and all reasons, different reasons for coming to support the team. We've got so many Korean fans for a start now. It's not because we're Spurs, let's face it. It is because Sonny's playing for us. I mean, which is great. I totally understand that. But then they're going to be coming from a different perception of what the club is. And the whole Levy thing probably won't matter to the majority. They just want to see Sonny bag a hat trick and celebrate it, which is great.
But maybe those fans will stay because we've been so welcoming to them as a fan base. Tottenham have always been a club that's welcomed outside people into the club. First team with a black player, first team with Jewish players, first team with this. We were so ahead of the time that maybe they'll be like, I really like this community. Let's stay. When Sonny eventually retires, let's stay here. And
even when we've had, for a long time, we've been associated with like Jewish ownership and or a strong Jewish following within the team. But think of the amount of Arabs we've had play for us as well. It's not a problem, is it? We just whoever comes along, we always say it. As long as they play for the shirt, we love them.
Yeah.
Simba, there you go. 1 second. Let me just Simba, 1 second. You're right in the way of the camera, Simba.
I was a big Foyth fan. Couldn't voice my view because I liked Juan Foyth. I loved
him. I thought we could have been a player. But do you know what Coover and you were just talking about as well, especially with Sonny, is you got to remember there are fans now that follow a player or a manager wherever they go. Because with Mourinho, we had a lot of fans that came because Mourinho's there. I support Mourinho. I'm now a Spurs fan. And then you've also got a lot of them with Conte. Now, obviously, if that's what people want to do. Like, listen, we were brought up to support a club, and the club is what you support. But maybe it's the modern day fan that has an icon, an idol, and they follow them wherever they go. But that's what you got, because I was speaking with I spoke to a Mourinho fan who became a Spurs fan whilst we were obviously as our manager. I was like, "Hi mate, how you doing?" He's like, "Do you know what? I'm really pissed off. I just wish that wasn't a friendly, was like a European game. So Jose got his proper revenge on Tottenham." I was like, whoa. I know he was a Mourinho fan, but it's like, Jesus. I was like, oh my God. No, but that's unfortunately that's what's happening now. It's some people will follow a player. Like you got a lot with how many people have gone to support PSG now because Messi's there? A lot. And like Neymar or you with other big players like that. Like, how many City fans are now going to be City fans because of Haaland?
Yeah, true. How many English fans supported Real Madrid when Beckham went over?
Yeah, or even McManaman.
Yeah. I'll say Beckham because he was obviously the superstar quality at the time. But there is something to it. I don't understand it myself. I know you two don't either. But we've got to accept that there are people like that, I suppose. So. Yeah.
I think that comes from. Sorry, Ben. I was supposed to say, I think that comes from nations where football isn't the global sport that it is for us.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, like obviously some other countries around the world where football may be their passion, but they're not a big league or whatever it may be.
Scott Ems. Big up, Scott. Big up,
Scotty boy.
That's brilliant. Can't imagine not supporting a club versus an individual player
or manager. But yeah, I can't. I mean, Ian, you're like, does it happen in the States a lot? I don't know if it. I've never really. I mean, in the States, is there like when Michael Jordan, let's say, or LeBron James, and I'm just thinking basketball players that come into my head when they moved from club to club. Did they? Not saying all of them. I'm saying, but were there people in the States, and this goes for people in Canada. Scott, you could answer me. Is it when Wayne Gretzky left whatever hockey team he was on, there was like a tribal kind of fan base that supported him?
Yeah.
I suppose I can kind of understand one point of view. I love watching ice hockey. I love the NHL's absolutely brilliant to me. I've always loved it. I've loved it before they tightened up the rules and stopped some of the outright violence on ice, which is what I always loved about it. But I never really picked a team. I just like watching it in general. So I suppose from that point of view, you could have it. There's people that just like enjoy the sport. Or
I'll tell you what you should watch, Coover. Do you have Amazon?
Yeah.
They did an All or Nothing on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's absolutely now. I really want to get into hockey. I really, 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 and I can watch it. But for me, it moves so quickly. It looks like a synchronized speed skating to me because they just all go up there. I can't see the puck. It moves so quick. But really, and living in Toronto, you have to love hockey. You have to. It's like it's like literally. I was here when so what the experience of what I got to see, and this is the Raptors with basketball, but if Spurs win an FA Cup or win a trophy, half of North London and blind people will travel from other parts of it. When the Raptors won the NBA, downtown Toronto had 3 million people there for the parade, because obviously it's a one city or a one team city. And apparently, like, you could not move on the roads downtown. They said, Brian, if the Maple Leafs ever won, because they haven't won it since 1967, Toronto will go on lockdown.
Yeah.
Toronto will come to a standstill. But I really wanted to get into the sport. But watching that documentary, Kuba, it's incredible. The depth of detail, it makes the Tottenham Hotspur one look amateur. So anyone that loves hockey or wants to know a bit more about hockey, check out the Toronto Maple Leaf All or Nothing.
It kind of, in a way, North American sport in general, it's for a long time the Americans, when they do something, they throw money at it. They want it done as professionally as possible. Yeah. It's competition based, and they're learning that from the high school level. I mean, Will Stewart talking about it the other day about, you know, debate. You have debate teams in American high schools, for example.
Yeah.
I certainly grew up. My generation, we didn't have anything like that. It's there's no sort of driven into you that winning becomes the most important thing, or at least having the tools to have these sort of arguments or competitions. But what I wonder how, if America's got this level of professionalism that you could say our league has lacked for a long time, perhaps we're starting to go more in tune with the Americans now. Is it weird that they've not really made a bigger mark on the world football than they have so far? Or do you think it's just that getting over that long-term view within their country of football means gridiron, and it's if not, then it's baseball. It's overcoming those traditions that they've always dismissed football, because you'd think if America actually do put their full force into football, they've got to be a dominant force, but before too long, because they always do this. I mean, when the money gets put into something that you succeed, that's just the way it is nowadays, unfortunately. Yeah. So perhaps we're going to be heading in that direction. Perhaps that's what Will Stewart was already saying.
Yeah, I mean, again, if they do put money and effort towards it, they can be one of the best, because they've got, again, they're like how London is a melting pot. That's the entirety of America. They've got people from Latin America. They've got people from Europe. They've got people from like Canada. They've got every single type of creed and race and cultural ethnicity. They could build like the greatest team ever. They could have a German defense. They could have an Italian midfield, because they've got all these people. They could absolutely do it. Imagine that people were saying, imagine what it'd be like if you had an Italian defense and a German midfield. They could do it, because they could just like, all right, people from New York, you're only going to learn how to play as defenders. People from the German, like the Midwest, like from the German communities, they're going to learn midfield. They could do it if they really wanted to.
Yeah, really could.
Football stereotypes: the Italians are the best at defending. The problem is, it's fact.
Very, very true. Especially, did Scott or Ian get back about if in America or Canada they support a player or coach or? Yeah.
I think they do that. They do that.
I think that's what it is.
Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Yeah, but I think Ian did put in the chat that everyone loved Jordan but didn't support the Bulls.
Segregated by position. Exactly. Segregated by position.
I suppose in a way you could translate that to Sonny for us.
Yeah, big time.
Because as a team, we're despised by so many other fans, but they love Sonny.
Yeah. But that's just football in general.
Sonny is literally the Michael Jordan of football.
Oh.
No, you're not allowed any other argument. I've just explained it.
I see what you're saying, but Ben, you got to remember that when I lived in Israel, when Ronnie Rosenthal came to English football, every single fan started supporting Liverpool or obviously Tottenham. Then you had Yossi Benayoun, Tel Benahim. And one of the things, every time I lived in Israel, we were like, please sign an Israeli player, please sign an Israeli player. Because if a player gets an Israeli player, they are on national TV. That every game, like when I was watching Tottenham when I lived in Israel, it was the dodgy channels and whatever. Or if it was like the weekend, like Sky, they picked the Spurs game.
Yeah.
But when Tel Ben-Haim was at Bolton, every single Bolton game was on national TV. I was like, oh, great. Bolton.
Eddie Romero is not Italian. He's bloody marvellous. A lot of South Americans are Italian, though. I know half my Brazilian friends are all Italian. This is why they've got Italian passport, but they grew up in Brazil.
Well, it's like what Bremer's waiting for, isn't it? He's waiting 6 months to get his Italian passport.
Yeah, so they want that passport.
Well, you got a lot of Latin American influence as well, haven't you? So, but trouble is, the Roman Empire didn't exist. So wherever they got
the Roman Empire didn't exist apparently.
Yeah, you know what Bobby just said as well. I've said apparently, Jordan was a huge gambler as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if he still is. He's like literally. So yeah. I mean, you say Jordan was. Eyal Berkovic was meant to be the biggest next Tuesday you'll ever see.
Yeah,
and that's coming from Israel. Benayoun and all the others, but it's a shame, like Bobby said, that you have these stars and they don't. Act respect. I mean, I understand when they're out having a meal with their family or doing something with their family, but if you're doing a PR thing or whatever, or by yourself, and the fans come up to you, it's to be expected. It's why you get paid ridiculous amounts of money for what you do, and you're a global star.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Rio Ferdinand went to my coffee shop in Shoreditch yesterday, which I found out yesterday evening. And my God, he was sitting there outside for, 20 minutes? Every 5 minutes, someone's asking him for a picture. My God, no wonder. But Rio's a good bloke, so.
I actually got to meet him in Israel because, you know, when he got done for drugs and he had that ban.
Yeah.
Well, I know Pini Zahavi's son. I used to live with him in Israel.
Yeah.
So he spent a lot of time with Pini Zahavi. So I got to meet. He is a top dude.
Yeah, he is.
He's a real nice guy.
I think it's kind of a shame as well that he had to lose his wife in such a tragic way that before people started realizing what he is, how good he is at a human level.
But did you watch that show, Kuva, with his new wife on BBC when it was becoming a step parent and everything? Yeah. That was absolutely outstanding. You know, he didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. But they wanted to like show what it. He's a great guy. Shame about the football teams he played for, but he's a great guy.
Yeah, there's deep respect for an unbelievable footballer as well. No one realizes how good of a footballer he was. Like, still that people always say, "Oh, it was Vidic over." No, Ferdinand was the brains.
Yeah,
Vidic was the rock hard defender. But Ferdinand was you saw as soon as he left that team how quickly Man United went to insignificance.
Well, you got to remember when he went to Leeds for 18 million, everyone was like, I mean, Leeds had the money and they're being, but everyone was like, bloody, and that's when 18 million was like, holy, that was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the hell? And then he obviously did exceptionally well at Leeds. Then he went to United for 30 and people understood that 30 million because of but that 18 million to West Ham after about a season and a half, he was destined from when he started at West Ham. You got to remember how good that West Ham youth team was.
Yeah.
I just remember Harry Redknapp at the time, wasn't it? And I just remember that interview with him ages ago. He was talking about some of the players, and he said why he likes, Joe Cole because he offers this bit of trickery, or somebody's got this bit of pace, they can get the ball forward well, and I like this about this player and this about that player. And then they mentioned Rio Ferdinand, and he just shook his head and he goes, just class.
Well, there's also another interview, Kuva, with he's at like a fan night, the ATM kind of thing, where he was with Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
And they're having this is when he was just breaking through, and everyone's going, "Oh, you're picking him because he's your uncle, your nephew, blah 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 blah." And he was like, "No, I'm picking him. I'm telling you now, he's going to go to the very very top. He is going to be one of the best in the world." And look at it, and look at that team: Lampard, Cole, Carrick, Defoe, Ferdinand as a spine. Could you imagine if they all played for Tottenham in their prime?
Yeah.
Mm.
All
I mean,
Levy,
two of them
that
did.
is.
Well, I think some of it would have been Sugar. No, it would have been Levy. It would have been Levy.
It
It
was
would have been Levy.
Levy. We had
Levy
all
for
those players
2004.
who could build on that team.
2004.
You
2004.
always find a way
Defoe.
to blame Levy.
Well, no, I can remember it being 2004 because that's ridiculous. We signed Jermaine Defoe a few days after my mental breakdown, and it was a thing. Oh my God, we signed Defoe, and I was like, but yeah, it was definitely 2004, and that team was mate. I mean, you look at teams like Southampton and the youth team they could have. Like, if you go back and put a Southampton, my God, that would be a team and a half if they were all in their prime together.
Yeah,
Southampton would be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just what happens, though, isn't it? Some clubs just can't hang on to the players. That exodus from Southampton to Liverpool, that was something else, though.
Yeah,
that was borderline criminal what they did. They just bought every single player from Southampton.
they ripped it apart, didn't they? They literally open heart surgery. And then after that, they went back and got Van Dijk. After they'd taken 4 or 5 of them, yeah, we'll just come and take Van Dijk and Mane. Jesus, it goes on. Lovren
and the fact that Southampton can say, "There you go, then have them," and still come back with a team that stays in the Premiership shows how well they were run at the time.
Yeah,
are they struggling a bit with that now? Maybe, I don't know. You get the feeling they've always got something coming through the pipeline, haven't you?
I find it really that Ellie's putting Paul into it's come up with big out Paul shirt.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? Southampton to me, I'm being serious. Southampton's youth team to me is like the equivalent of Ajax for us here. Yeah. The amount of young talent that has come through. I'm not saying it's obviously Ajax have gone on and they're world renowned, but if you could go on about Chelsea and the amount. But if you look at the players that have come through that Southampton, going back as far as Shearer, and Letitia, and they have reeled out player after player after player.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It goes hand in hand with the whole thing on Pochettino as well. Pochettino's at his best when he's bringing through those youngsters into the team. That's why he was always going to fail at PSG. Anybody that really knew Pochettino's style of play would have seen that. And lots of people did point it out. It's a bad move.
But he's desperate. He's desperate to change his philosophy, which is not what he's good at.
And why did it start going wrong at Spurs? Because we stopped bringing in young players to refill, re-energize, give us a bit more energy and fresh blood into the team. It's desperately what he wanted. Yeah, well, time's gone by anyway. I think that's the next step for him on his career. I've got this sneaky feeling that it might be someone like Everton that he comes back to.
Oh, you reckon?
I'd really love to see him at England. I'd love to see him as the England manager. I think it would be outstanding as the England manager because he could do his style of play. Because he doesn't have to train them. He could cherry pick from the teams that have the best fitness with most English players, like a Man City, like a Tottenham, like a Chelsea, and he could bring that team together. He could do that.
I'll look at it the other way round. I'll look at it. The England job for him would be too much like PSG. You're talking about already established players. He wants to mould that core of youngsters together to form the team. You don't get a chance to do that when you're an international manager.
Do you know what, Kirby? You talk Everton, mate. I could see if Hasenhüttl went, maybe he'll go back to Southampton.
Yeah, that's possible too.
That's where I could see. I mean, obviously, you got to remember Newcastle will always be linked because of Newcastle being Newcastle.
The reason I'm thinking Everton is because their financial situation. Yeah. They're going to have to keep selling off the established professionals. Yeah. At some point, they're going to have to be relying on that youth system coming in. Yeah. And apparently, they do have a pretty good youth system.
Yeah.
It's a perfect choice for Pochettino to come in there.
Gordon as well, right? The right back.
Yeah.
He's quality. Gordon. They've got some great young players in that team.
Plus, they will be starting from such low expectations. It will be
Oh,
perfect.
that's a good shout.
Come in. You've got 3 years. Just if you can keep us in the Premiership, brilliant. And we'll go from there. And you can turn them around.
Leicester's a good shout, but let's have a look. Let's have a look. Now we're talking about like teams with. Who do you reckon, in no particular order, would you say and people in the chat can do it as well. Who would you say do you reckon are going to be the first 3 managers that either walk or get the sack this season coming?
Rodgers.
Okay.
Hassan Hutel isn't going to get done because he always seems to survive the chop.
Yeah.
Bobby K thinks Lampard. I'm thinking it's going to be Arteta. I think he's going to fail with Donut FC.
Okay, so you got one more.
And I think Thomas Tuchel.
So you've got 2 of my 3. What about you, Cougar?
Yeah, I was going to go for Tuchel, but I just think they're going to sign enough players to get them going again, and he'll keep his job. Let's see. Southampton's always a dodgy place to keep a job, isn't it? I mean, if they get off to a bad start, he'll be under. Hassan will be under big pressure straight away.
But he always does well in the second part of the season.
We still want to see what happens at Man United as well, because certainly Ten Hag's start with the press hasn't been good. We've still got the Ronaldo situation going on there.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of hope that all these players are going to click in place when they arrive. And it might not happen. He might be under extreme pressure early on. But then again, they persevered with Solskjaer, so way longer than they should have. So perhaps they've just thought, well, if we can't do it now with this rebuild, we're screwed anyway. But then again, will they be looking at Pochettino? Yeah.
Possibly. I think Scott has got to come up with a brilliant shout. Marco Silva, because he's a mercenary, he is Marco Silva. Every time there's a new club sniffing around him, he takes the job immediately. He did it at Watford, and he tried to do it at Everton.
Yep. So
brilliant shout.
I'm going Rodgers, Tuchel, who is my number 1. I think Tuchel is the first one that walks. And the other one I'm going for is the Leeds manager, because Leeds are going to be ruthless. Leeds are going to be ruthless. If they get off to another bad start, I don't think they wait as long as they did with Bielsa. It's off you go. So Tuchel first, and then Rodgers or the Leeds manager for me. Sorry, Cooper, did you finish off?
Great manager for Leeds.
No, I was going to go Lampard, Rodgers are the 2 obvious under pressure. I'm good. I like Scott's thinking on Silva, but I'm going to go the other way with that. I think he's going to work his magic and actually get them up in the top half.
Top half? Wow,
I just think there's something about Fulham, what they've been doing over the last few seasons, that sort of yo-yoing up and down. They've got a bit of strength, bit of character in the team, and sooner or later, Iggy's favourite player of all time, Mitrovic, is going to score a load of goals this season. I just think that there's always one surprise package, isn't there, that comes up. And I just got a feeling on Fulham this season. I think it is something about Silva there, Marco Silva. It's just... Well,
Ellie thinks Conte is going to get sacked.
No, but remember we said sacked or walk.
Conte's not walking. Only joking. Conte's not walking. Especially,
come on, I think... Admit it though, every one of us has still got that little bit in the back of the mind thinking, could happen.
Yeah, well, you got to look at it, bring it back. When you look at it right now, he's saying all the right things, and it's wonderful, wonderful to hear. But if the window was to shut right now, and he hasn't got a centre back or he hasn't got a creative midfielder, those words could change very drastically. Not saying, oh my God, I'm fucking furious and I'm leaving. But those, I'm delighted. I'm happy that it could very quickly change. But I am the one to believe on the other side. I don't think that is going to happen. I think he's going to remain happy and whatever. I'm just saying those could change. Like we were talking earlier about win or lose, the environment in you, whatever can change. I think if he doesn't get the full quota or the players that I think he desperately wants still, then those comments could be toned down a little.
I think also I brought this up on Tottenham away last night. You look at the press conferences and then the words that Conte comes out with, and you start seeing little patterns with things that other managers have said in the past. Some of the regular ones that come out with is we aim to be more competitive. Since when does Conte talk about competitive instead of winning something?
Yeah.
Also, then you think of Nuno. We'll try and give you everything to make you proud of this team. Didn't Pochettino say exactly those words? And I'm thinking, all these pressers, is it just them reading off a bullet point sheet that's been given to them by the press office? Because it's the same stuff all the time. The emphasis is taken away from, I want to win the league, or we must win a trophy this season, to let's be competitive. And this is a process. It's going to take a long time. Yeah. There's no urgency in it at all. It's like you're being paid your money. Just read out what we want you to read out. We'll okay it through the press office. Water it down. Don't say anything controversial. So are we really getting Conte's actual thoughts on it? I have my doubts.
I am in personal belief that this is the year Conte is going to have his year to see if he can win. And then he's going to come up with his plan, which will be written in the contract. I want X, 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 and X. He'll get the contract on those terms, and that's when he signs a deal, because that's what he did at Inter. He wants to see if he can do it. Firstly, he's not going to. So this is basically a lot of people say Conte is awful in the second season, which is frankly bollocks for the most part. This is his season where he's going to put the nucleus of the team together. Then he's going to try next year. That's when I think he's actually going to start thinking, right, now it's time to win the league.
Yeah, this isn't Conte's second season, though, is it?
Yeah.
This will be his first full season.
Yeah.
Yep. And his second season at Chelsea was second place in an FA Cup win.
Yeah.
I don't see that as shambolic. It may be because Chelsea expect the league.
Yeah.
But second in a piece of silverware, I'll take that all day long. If that's what you call shambolic, I'll take shambolic all day if that's what you're calling shambolic.
Shambolic and silverware is good enough for me.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the new shit shower and shave, really, isn't it? Shambolic and silverware.
It's brilliant. Brilliant stuff. We need one last topic before we end the show. We've got 5 minutes to go before the end.
Oh, it's got to be talk about if it's right. This news that's breaking that Basuma is out on Saturday.
Yeah.
I tweeted and I said, only at Tottenham does this work, where the season that we finally strengthen, we still end up weaker.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Skippy already out for a good few weeks at the least. Basuma out. We're now looking at certain Mr. Winks on the bench, you would have thought. Mind you, Alfie Devine's turned 18. Maybe it's the time.
I think he's good enough.
He is
old enough.
He is. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
As well. Pape Matar, he certainly didn't look out of place in the little thing of him, did he?
As a backup. But I think Basuma's got enough days to recover from a little niggling. I don't know what the injury is. a niggling injury, I reckon it was, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, but they said that about Skip.
Yeah.
And what you got to remember is, welcome to Tottenham, Basuma. Have some COVID and an injury. It's been a wonderful month for him.
Yeah.
It's just we're going to go into this with, like you said, Højbjerg and Bentancur. Alfie Devine, I think, will be out on loan. He may make. I don't know if he'll be on loan by Saturday, so he could. He's got Harvey White's there as well, like Aben said. But yeah, I'm not going to start talking about Alfie because you finish your show in 4 minutes, and we'll still be streaming
It'll be
tomorrow.
12-hour stream.
Yeah, definitely.
Joseph.
Oh, here we go. One very quick subject then.
Yeah.
What's the single best thing about barbecues?
Oh.
The smell. You can smell it literally, even if it's not your barbecue. You can smell that from you're like, and it's like, oh mate, the smell from a barbecue is just, it's got to be that for me.
For me, it's the beer you drink when you're cooking. Then you go full Louisiana style. Barbecues are always an absolute nightmare at my house because I do all the preparation because I really like barbecues. And suddenly, my dad, who doesn't do any of the preparation, is like, no, I'm cooking it. So, no, you're not. Get out of my way.
I was thinking, well, is it going to be the people? Is it going to be the drinks that go with it? Is it the fact you're outside with friends? And then as soon as Brian said smell, I thought, because that triggers all of the other emotions that go with it, doesn't it? Yeah. Smell's a really important sense. So I think spot on. Good call.
It has been. It's because I can't get excited about the drinking or anything, so I don't do the cooking. So just that smell is like.
You could have a non-alky beer though, and that's the same thing. Having a really cold drink, a refreshing cold drink, and cooking it.
No, you're right. You're right. But that smell, as soon as you smell it, you're like, oh, hello, something's going on here, and it's like, yep.
Food, barbecues are always brilliant, especially when you do them properly. When you've got the right company, the right food, and everyone brings like a side dish, which is what I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ian. Everyone will bring a side dish to a barbecue, like in North America.
Yeah,
and that's always brilliant. Like some people will bring like the mashed potatoes, some people will bring like the yams and things like that.
Potlucks are the best. They're the best.
Is this football chat? No, it's not. This is the coffee company. We talk about anything we want here. If they don't, you ask them to leave. Lol, absolutely. Always bring something. Always bring a bottle or just a side dish. Just be a decent person. Be a decent person.
And used to be the standard for us: potato salad and a bottle of wine or something. Yeah,
I love potato salad. But Ben, do you know that we can get I love Russian potato salad.
Yeah, Russian potato salad.
Oh my god, Russian potato salad that's where it's at.
Nothing beats some proper Midwest barbecue. Yeah. Al fresco dining is also great.
Yeah.
What I've already asked this. Baked beans, yep. Ian's like he knows. He just knows.
The trouble is they fall through the grill so easily.
That's why you do it in a pot.
Oh yeah, that's another extra question then. If you're on the grilling duty on the barbecue, and the sausage or a burger falls through the grill and into the ashes, is that a waste to you?
No, you pick it back up.
Absolutely, I'll love those ones.
That's fine. It's not like if you put it in the flame. It's
hello,
sir.
Oh, thank God.
So brilliant. Yeah.
It's not even like 3-second rule or anything, is it? It's just slap it back
the flame
on.
Will cleanse it.
I usually put it to if I'm on grilling duty and that happens, I put it to the one corner and I will have that one because I enjoy that extra burnt sort of flavour to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
do I see a special guest there?
We've got a special guest here.
Is it my man Graham?
It might be.
What's up, Graham, brother?
Souvlaki on a barbecue. Interesting. Finally, what show have you got coming up today, Brian? You've got a very important show coming up.
Yeah,
today.
No, Brian Island's working on it now, and now I can kind of say it. Obviously, there's a lot coming. I'll tell you, Tottenham on tour this week. I'm going to talk about that show last. We've got tomorrow, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. our time. Yeah. Making their YouTube debut is the Twitter group Spurs Song Sheet. So we're going to be talking all things pre-season build-up, what they thought of everything. Then we're going to move on to how did they support Spurs, how did they form, and then everyone's going to get treated to a 10-minute concert live from their studio.
Yeah.
And they're going to be releasing 2 brand new songs that they haven't even put on Twitter.
Brilliant.
So exclusives on Tottenham on Tour. And then we're recording Everywhere You Go LA Spurs, which will come out the next day. And we're also doing an Ask Us Anything. And then on Friday, we've got our first show on We Are Tottenham TV, the Late Late Show. But most importantly, a show that should be coming out today. Obviously, we know where Ben and Simeon are still stuck in Israel because of Wizz Air. So thank you to Wizz Air for letting them have an extra bit stay. But it was a very, very, very big occasion. And obviously, we've got a very, very dear friend out there who lives out there, and spoke to him and asked him to get some wonderful footage. So we've got an interview with Amir.
Yeah.
And when we asked him to send a few videos, he my God, videos, pictures. But Ireland, as we speak, is putting that together as a vlog.
Yeah.
And that should be out at some point today. Should be. I can't give you a time because Ireland is working on it as we speak. But there is exclusive footage walking up to the stadium and the view of the walk to the stadium. There is the outside and all the Spurs fans congregating. There's Ben and Simeon with an interview, or Simeon with an interview. There's Ben going crazy like he always does, singing with all the Israeli fans. Amir's got some wonderful content in the match. It's just going to be brilliant. So that is coming out at some point today. So keep your eyes out. I can't give you a time just yet, though.
Okay, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And Mr. Coover, who are we going to big up this week or this day?
Okay, it's always going to be the same for me. It's fun going on lots of other shows. Been on Tottenham Away quite a lot recently, and Savas and Henry Wrights and Shawnees and the Irish Hotspur. Love going around all the channels, but always gravitate back to the same place for me. The week revolves around Saturday night in the Wall, Bob Spur TV. It's the kick your shoes off, relax, have a couple of beers, and just enjoy the silliness for a night.
Yeah. And speaking of Bob, you can still donate to Bob's NHS donation. It's got 13 days left, and we're still on our way to £3,000, which will be doubled by a very generous donator. So get over there. Please give what you can. Don't give too much, but every little helps. And thank you to everyone for supporting the stream and everyone that's part of it. So big up, Bob. Big up the NHS. And on that note, we are going to end the stream. We're going to be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock again tomorrow, as per usual, where we're going to talk about nonsense, talk about maybe something important. Maybe
and there he is.
Yeah. Is the Greek Empire real? Who knows? We will discuss it tomorrow. But thank you to both my guests for joining me. Big up Kuva and Brian. Did someone say Bob? Yes, we did. Thank you all so much for joining the chat. Thank you so much for your conversation today and just being brilliant people. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. And as always, if you smell what the cough is brewing, big up the NHS. Big up, big up, big up. Thank you. Goodbye. Cheers.
Bye-bye.